Hi, my name is Kees and I help people from doing to being. And today I'm here with a video about sensitivity. To me, sensitivity is a huge and very important subject because it's often very misunderstood. It's misunderstood in general, but it's also misunderstood in the spiritual community, let's say, or in people involved in spirituality, or through meditation or things that they're doing, or through their spiritual awakening, are becoming more sensitive. And I would like to clarify sensitivity in general, but also some of the labels which are being put on people that are sensitive. And one of these labels is the highly sensitive person, the HSP. One of these labels is the empath. And one of these labels is the psychic. So to me, those are interesting labels to talk about, and to talk about what people are perceiving and what sensitivity actually is. So you have let's start with what sensitivity to me is, and that's being able to sense some things. Okay, so sensitivity is not weakness, right? Sensitivity is being able to consciously perceive something, because what we're unconsciously perceiving is, to me, everything, you would say. But what we're consciously perceiving, that is what we're talking about and what we're thinking about. And also sometimes consciously are disturbed by. So the consciousness of this is really important. So being conscious of your senses and what you sense in the moment is you being sensitive, you could say, or aware. So you have awareness and you have sensitivity, and both are necessary, enable for you to to say, I sense this. So if you're not aware, some people are born sensitive, but they're not aware of their sensitivity, and so it can bother them, but they because they're not aware of this, they cannot really do anything about it, or act on it, or think about it, or understand it. Sometimes understanding it helps in letting it go and letting it flow. Because with sensitivity is something to that you want to handle with care, and you also want to understand how to deal with it. And I can talk about that as well. Let's see if that will be another video or this video as well. But I think the first thing to say is sensitivity is a good thing. Sensitivity is a marvelous thing because it helps us understand more of life in general, and it helps us understand ourselves more. Because the more we can sense the life around us, or the more we can sense our own life, the better we are able to understand life, and from a deeper perspective, act in life. So when we are sensitive, we are able to perceive more, right? And what often happens with people that are able to perceive more, they go to their mind and try to rationalize it. They try to understand it, and they push some things away, which they are not able to understand some things, and they push them away, and it becomes a subconscious thing for them, which is not something that helps them, and they don't accept it. Basically, that's what happens. They don't accept it. When you don't accept those things you're sensitive to, or you're sensing, and you're pushing them away, they can become a disturbance in your life. Because what you want is, instead of catching on, what the mind usually does, it tries to catch on to something or grasp something instead of letting it flow. And when you're catching on or grasping onto something, a concept, then you're not in line with life itself. That is just flowing. That's just relaxed. So what happens, for example, let's say you walk into a busy supermarket, you think, oh, it's so busy here, it's so busy here, I need to get out fast. Then what you're kind of creating is a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy that it's hurting you, that it's a bad thing for you. Well, if you just notice it and you let it go, and this is where mindfulness and non-duality is really helpful, then it can flow through you. And this sensation is gone after the sensation is gone. And otherwise you could be carrying the supermarket for a long time inside you because you've been labeling it, you've been grasping onto it. Right? So how we want to deal with our sensitivity is not make a big deal about it, not try to give ourselves per se a label or give others a label or to start labeling the world through our sensitivity, but it's good to trust our senses and say, okay, this is something we sense, and then we can move on. Okay, we sense this. And sometimes, for example, I coach people. Sometimes I can sense certain emotions, or I can sense how they're feeling, or I can sense deeper layers of their thoughts or emotions, or I can link it to things they've told me about their childhood, things like that, because I can be sensitive. I'm sensitive to emotions, and I can be, I can sense, I can get certain images in my mind as well. So I sense, let's say, I definitely sense a lot more than what we usually describe, and how I deal with that is sometimes I bring it up when it seems appropriate, and sometimes I don't, and sometimes I let it be. And that depends on just the flow of the conversation or how things are. I don't try to grasp onto my senses, just like I don't try to grasp onto my thoughts. I just let them be. I think, okay, I feel this, yeah, fine, or I don't have to do anything with everything. So but sometimes I have other sensitive friends, and it's sometimes harder to sense something that's inside of yourself, because for most people their senses are looking outward, and if they're sensitive of themselves, then or if I sense something with them, I can tell them, because they're okay with this. They know I'm sensitive, and they're sensitive themselves, or they're okay with this information. But there are other people which I don't tell about it, because sometimes it doesn't resonate, or it's too deep, or they don't really understand it, or they just start denying it, or feel caught, or it's just not for some people it's not a nice experience. So all in all, sensitivity is something to deal with for yourself with caution, and the caution is that you don't grasp onto it, that you let it flow, which is extremely important. Otherwise it becomes another hiccup for you, another thing to actually become a disturbance in your life, and that's not what you want. So let's talk about some of these labels. So to me, a highly sensitive person, or an HSP, is someone who has their five senses, just the sight, the smell, their hearing, their skin, or the sound. It can be very overwhelming for those people, because, and they've shown this in studies in the brain. I haven't seen it, but I have read about the studies, where basically what they do is they measure what certain perceptions within the senses do with people. And what happens is that there's a bigger reaction in the brain. So that means things tend to hit people a lot harder. So certain smells and sights and sounds can hit people that have HSP a lot harder. And what happens, for example, they have a difficult time being for a long time in, let's say, a disco, or they go to a festival or something like that, and they're overwhelmed very quickly. So, and I know quite some people that have difficult times with just in the five senses having a very strong sight, smell, or something like that. I personally have this with my sight. I'm not sensitive with the other senses as much, but I have I have a lot of mirror neurons, or that's how I feel it. The mirror neurons are actually that you feel the same thing when you see something. So this is when I look at a video, or I have this a lot if I watch videos online, then I feel exactly the same emotion as the person. But I think I get this a lot stronger than other people. So let's say I'm watching a movie with my girlfriend and people are kissing, then I instantly want to kiss, and it's just something in my brain says, "Oh, kiss, kiss," you know. So I try to very much limit my screen time, especially watching videos or other people, because I'm mirroring that so much. So my sight is quite sensitive in this, and I also notice when you have these videos that are really, all the TV shows now are edited so quickly, it's sort of tick, 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 all the images tonight, and it overwhelms me very quickly. And I know my girlfriend has that with certain senses as well, especially the smell and the sound. And that is, that's something to deal with, to really make sure that you don't overload yourself, or you don't you don't have that much input, because it can be really much, too much, and you can get basically too much input, and when you get too much input, then you get more annoyed, and you feel sort of, you don't feel good, and when you don't feel good and you feel sort of on your edge or on your toes, then that's the time to also just do something for yourself, take some alone time, or relax, because with this sensitivity, if you're aware of so much more input, and if you see all this more input, then you need to take that into account as well, and your brain actually is doing a lot more processing. Especially if you're a highly sensitive person, it's not really, it's still that you need to let it flow and not try to grasp onto it, but there is definitely a sort of brain thing, an innate brain thing that you don't that you want to make sure you adjust your life to, because if you don't, then you get overloaded really quickly, and it's just not a nice experience. So I know some people that didn't notice for a long time that they're a highly sensitive person, and then they have had basically a bad time in their childhood, because they get tired a lot, they get angry a lot, they get overloaded a lot, but they didn't know how to deal with this. And this is something for you to look at. If you recognize yourself in having your five senses being a lot sharper, then you want to look into maybe that label, and also think which sense of mine is over alert, and how can I adjust my lifestyle a little bit to the fact that that sense is so alert for me. Okay. Then the other label to talk about is the psychic skills, you could say. So to me, psychic skills are about reading energy. So this is next to the five senses. We have the possibility, we all have this possibility to some extent, to read the energy. It could be the energy in the room, it could be the person sitting across from us, it could be in a different way. Most people know it. For example, we're if you have some sort of psychic skills, you can be good at reading people, knowing if they're lying or not, knowing if something is true, seeing the intention. Intuition is a sort of thing as well. And psychic skills can be used. So one of the psychic skills is to be an empath. And to be an empath is to be sensitive to emotions and understanding emotions. So the emotions that are in certain places, or the emotions that are with people, you can sense those. When people get angry to each other and they walk out the room and you go into the room, you think, oh, there just was this fight here, you know? And maybe at the beginning you don't understand that there was a fight, but you definitely go like, because you read the energy, you know? So reading energy can do different things to different people. So some people read energy and they don't really notice it because they're not aware of it. But I think all people can read energy to some extent, but most people are not consciously aware of it. And when you can have this with you can have different ways of reading the energy. And one of these ways is to be an empath, where you read the energy of certain emotions and you feel sort of the energy in the room. Which is also a sensitivity to take into account, right? Like the other sensitivities as well. But there are also different ways where you can read different energy. So maybe it's spirit energy you can read, or maybe it's which you hear a lot about, especially in, you know, the bad movies. But you can sense all types of different energy. And you can sense all types of different places, locations, beings, or you can tune into certain things. If you are somebody that can do this, it will feel often like everybody can do this, which is, you know, not really true. I can, for example, speak to, basically anybody's spirit, which I know. If I have a focal point, I can, let's say, a person, or somebody that's dead, or it could be an object as well, because everything has energy. I can sort of have a conversation with the energy in my head, and that was a skill which I thought everybody could do, which is not true. And it's called claircognizance. It's a sort of clear knowing, which you can use in different ways. And there are more of these type of skills. You can be clairvoyant as well, where you have certain images. I talked to you about that. I have that as well, where you can think about certain things, or you can, let's say, focus on a certain thing, taking a focus point, and then you can get certain images. And this is about, because energy has no time and place. So if you focus on a certain type of energy, you can feel what that energy is like, and that translates for different people in different ways. So you can translate in images. For some people it translates in sounds, which they hear. It can translate in feelings in the body. It can translate in thoughts. So I have thoughts and images, for example. It can translate in, all these different ways in which it can translate itself. So reading energy, that's the psychic skill that people can have. And working with energy is also something you can do. Clearing energy, for example, is the process of letting go of any type of energy which is not flowing. So you can focus on something, and by you just focusing on it and allowing it to be, you actually clear it, and anything that doesn't flow, you can, through that, let it go. So you notice the importance which I put again on flow and on letting go and on resting your awareness, and because that's really important with these sensitivities. So one other thing which I want to notice for you guys, or talk about, is the importance of when you get more awareness. So through meditation, And through different practices, I've created more awareness in my life, and I've become aware of the psychic skills I've become aware of the highly sensitive sense I have with my sight, and I've become aware of different things, how my system works and how I can take care of my system. And that taking care of my system is really important because it helps me, of course. And if you don't take care of your system, then you can get overloaded, you feel tired, you don't feel good, etc. So it's something to really take care of for yourself, that you don't overload yourself. And with this awareness, with meditation, you and other things, your 5 senses and other things do not per se become stronger, is my experience, because I'm just talking from experience here. But what I've noticed is that I become aware of these 5 senses a lot more. So a very busy environment, I've become a lot more aware of the busyness, aware of the senses of people, aware of the energy, and I used to not be that aware. I used to have the same sensitivity, and I would have the same reaction, but me not being aware was actually giving me a lot less processing time in my head about this, and making me a lot less. I didn't have to be as conscious of being aware as well and being relaxed and letting it flow. Because if you're sensitive, then and you're not letting it flow, then it can hinder you, because sometimes unconsciously you're not letting it flow if you pushed it away. If you're not really conscious about it, then it's okay, and if you become aware, you can actually have a better experience. But if you become aware and you're trying to fix it, your experience will be worse. So sensitivity again can arise, but usually it's born in. You have a sort of born-in sensitivity. But what happens through time and through practice of, for example, meditation, or just being relaxed, or in your body, or eating healthy and things like that, through that you can discover your sensitivities, because you start becoming aware of your sensitivities. And by being aware of your sensitivities, it becomes more important to deal with those in a constructive manner, in a constructive way, where you actually try to let them go, let them flow, and not try to catch a hold of them or grasp them, or say, oh, I'm highly sensitive, please don't do this, blah, blah, blah. No, we want to relax about it, be chill about it, but adjust our lifestyles a little bit and make sure that we let everything flow. So if you resonate with this, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your opinion about sensitivity and about your sensitivities. And know that every label I've used, whether that's highly sensitive people or empath or psychic or something like that, it's not a big thing. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't mean that you have to make this into your job if you have some sort of sensitivity. But it also doesn't mean that you have a problem. It just means that you maybe sometimes need to adjust your lifestyle and read a little bit about it, but then let go of the label as well. Because if you just let flow of what is, all is good in the end. So I wish you the best of luck, and I'm still evolving, and let's evolve together. Bye. Ciao.